This episode brought to you by Comic Book Jones, comicbookjones.com, and WCBJ Radio, the Comic Book Jones podcast.
There was a time of the preacher in the year of '01. When you think it's all over, it's only begun.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Preacher versus Preacher, the a companion podcast for AMC's Preacher Show. And once again, I just can't get it out. So, Preacher versus Preacher, we compare the show to the book. And this week, maybe it's because I'm so excited. Maybe that's what it is. Because this week we finally got the finale. The season 1 finale. Yay! So who's here with me? Who am I? What's all this about? I'm Bill Sweeney. And I got my buddy Dominic.
How's it going, guys?
I got my buddy Bob, my brother Bob, all the way from Florida.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And this week, a returning guest is Sara Netzly, freelance writer at entertainmentweekly.com, where she's been handling the recaps. She's been handling the recaps for Preacher. And it's great to have you back, Sara.
Hey, glad to be back.
Now, I guess you had enough fun, or we didn't scare you away, so that's a plus. That's a plus in my book.
Some people never learn.
That's true, too.
I don't know if I'm saying that about you or me, though, honestly.
It might be both. It could be both. So a couple of things to get them out of the way real quick. It's going to be all about the finale this week. We're also going to get to our Absolute Preacher giveaway. We'll do that later. People want to email us in the future. They can email it to pvp@wickedtheory.com. Sign out with your Twitter handle. We'll shout it out. Follow us on Twitter at PreachVSPreach. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music. Subscribe, rate, and review. And then if people want to hear me, Dom, and Bob, they can hear us over on the Wicked Theory podcast, where they're every week. We kind of talk about news of the geek and entertainment variety.
We're pretty nerdy.
We lean geek. We're like an old barn, ready to collapse. We're leaning.
We try to keep it fully pop culture, but most of the time it's just geek shit.
Most of the time it's just geek. I'm not going to tell you about my doctor visit or any of that random stuff. You know, I mean, if you send in an email and ask me, then I'll tell you everything. But anyway, you can check us out over there if you start to miss us, because after this, I'm not sure how many episodes or how often we'll put out episodes to kind of keep this channel going in between the seasons. We'd like to do specials. We've talked about doing some special stuff. So every now and then you might see something pop up on your feed. We still have our buddy Kev from the visual effects department at Preacher, who we're supposed to kind of have a chat with at some point. And so when that happens, I'm sure we'll put up a special episode of just at least that, and maybe some kind of other thing we'll squeeze in there or something special. I don't know. I'm making empty promises again. That's what I do. All right. So what was that, Bob?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you. I just wanted to say we don't want people to forget that we're here in between seasons.
Exactly. So I don't know how much of the spoiler warning we need, but basically the idea on the show is that it's all about book 1 for average listeners. As long as you've read book 1, you're relatively safe, but spoiler stuff will come later. I don't know. I feel like we might just throw it all out the window this week because it's the finale. And later on we'll have so much stuff that we'll just kind of want to reference. So maybe you're on your own this week. So if you haven't read all the books yet, I don't know. Good luck to you. You will. You're on your way. If you've read book 1, I know that you're reading book 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
We believe in you.
Exactly.
You better.
Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you mentioned book 1,
Right.
got me thinking. This is the last episode for this season. Should people be up to book 2 by the beginning of next season? You think?
Well, here's the
I'm
thing.
thinking-
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think they should probably have be done with book 2, just in case we get stuff from book 2 in book 1.
See, that's the thing I was thinking about for this show. It's a good point, Bob, because one of the things I was thinking is, like, we do this. We've been doing this kind of idea where it's all about book 1, your safe zone, and I think now that because we started this show as, hey, go get the books. You've got plenty of time to read the books from when our first episode dropped to when the first episode of the show aired. So our goal was to try to get people to read through all 6 by the time the show started. So I think it's fair to say, hey, if you're listening and you haven't gotten through all the books, the way that this show jumbles stuff around, you might be only safest if you've gotten through all of them. But by next season, you should be up to book 2 or 3. That would be the best safe bet.
Yeah, I would think at least book 2 as a
Yeah.
buffer, so you're not overly surprised. But then again, the show has been so different from the book. It could actually work against them, but I think overall it's better if they know. And so I would think book 2 would be.
Plus, look at the way season 1 pulled in the Quincannon, not
That's what I was going to say.
storyline,
Yeah.
but character.
Yeah,
So who knows what order they'll go in.
that's true.
That's true.
I was going to say the
True.
exact same thing, Sarah.
That's why I'm back to my all the way through. Only safe place to be is at the back end of book 6. Just do it, people. Just do it. Let's go crazy.
Power reading.
Power read it. I think you got plenty of time actually between now and when season 2 starts. There's going to be a few months.
Summer reading, definitely.
So I think for the most part we've got the official business out of the way. Dom is going to take a stretch. He's going to stretch. He's going to touch his toes, do those arm airplane things. He's going to psych himself up, and we're going to jump right into this recap. How about it? Sound good? You actually did some stretches.
I'm ready to go now.
All
That
right.
is exactly what I needed.
Good. How about that coffee?
Coffee's good. I'm almost done with mine.
Good job.
All right, so let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we basically open up this episode with some quick shots of Annville.
Yep.
We get that Willie Nelson song, "The Time of the Preacher,"
Yeah.
played once again for us from the first episode from the pilot.
Mm-hmm. Picked up on the second verse of where it left off, actually.
Oh, did it really?
I
didn't
think so.
notice
Yeah.
that. Okay. So then just some quick shots of the town, and then we actually hear a radio host say local freak Eugene Root is still missing, and authorities are still looking for preacher Jesse Custer. And as he's saying that, the preacher runs by himself.
He goes running by. I wasn't even
and
sure.
there's
it was
an old
him at
lady
first.
that's like pointing, like, get him, get him.
You're right. She gives him right up. He's like, "Hey, Mabel," and she's like, "Oh, there he is." As a squad car comes by, I didn't even know it was him at first. I really didn't. It wasn't until I saw, I think, Sarah's recap. Actually, then she pegged out that it was definitely Jesse, and I was like,
Oh, I
"Well,
recognize Dominic Cooper in all forms, running, standing still. That was Dominic Cooper.
right,
And did you notice the mascot in the window?
right, yeah, the mascot in the window, closing the shades because he was up to something no good. He was probably finally taking that mask off. I bet."
Maybe.
Imagine how that costume smelled.
Oh, that guy.
That dude wearing it all over town,
just living
24/7.
in it. Just living in it. Naked, probably too.
Stop.
Well,
Just stop right
it's
there.
hot in those things.
It's hot.
Fermented body odor.
Ugh.
Right, in Texas, no less. How about that?
All right. So
Yummy.
then our good pal Tulip is back in town.
Tulip, yeah, sure.
And she visits that woman. What's her name? I cannot think of
Mo.
her name.
Mo.
Mo.
She
Okay.
calls him Mo.
At some sort of salon, it looks like,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
guess she owns that also.
I don't know. She was definitely in there though, but
And the sign out front says "God is coming." Bikini wax is 50% off.
because
so-
you know you gotta look good for your Lord and Savior.
I guess you do. I guess you do.
And
Sarah
those
just-
ladies like a good bargain. So
well, that's
you know.
what gets them. That's what gets them.
Maybe
every
it's
time.
ladies in Annville really love God.
You never know which way it's gonna go, right? I mean, strange things happen in that town. Where are we
Yeah.
next?
So Mo's getting her hair done basically because God is coming also. So
Mhm,
like we said, they just want to look good for God, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So Tulip is basically asking Mo where Jesse is and if she knows where he is.
Right, right, right,
And she tells her that he's at Donnie's,
right. That redneck.
that redneck. Like,
That's what I think one of them
Yeah.
calls him, a redneck.
yeah.
As if we're not in a Texas town. I guess that's what happens in a Texas town. We just throw redneck around at each other all the
I
time.
guess so.
It's news to me.
So then we go to Donnie, and we get a little bit of like a slow-mo scene where he's slowly spanking his wife. And as, you know, the next scene happens, as they're sitting down at their table to have some lunch, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, he gives her
Um,
I didn't put it in there, but he gives her the frozen peas to sit on,
Right.
and she's happy that he's got his oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, they did talking preacher afterwards. There was a question.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
Blueberry.
Oh, that's right. There was a quiz. I'm talking quiz.
I didn't get a chance to watch that. I got to go back and watch that.
And then,
So then as they're sitting down,
Yeah.
basically Tulip shows up, and she throws a lawn flamingo through the front door.
yeah, she just basically uses it as if it was a lockpick.
Mm.
Like, you know, she just pushes it right through the glass,
Yeah, right
like
through
a
the screen
psycho.
door, right through the glass door.
Which, if I can critique the physics of that, aren't most lawn flamingos really light plastic.
Yeah.
I feel like
I was
you'd wind up and it would bounce right off the glass. That would be
Yes,
my
I think-
breaking and entering attempt.
Right, right.
Anyway.
Yeah, it should have been like a nice hard lawn, like gnome, one of those like cement, or
Yeah.
For breaking and entering, you want to use your stone gnomes. Absolutely.
I would
Yeah.
think. Pink flamingo's funnier, but I see what happened there. You know,
Could have been a ceramic one, an old ceramic one.
there you go.
So she's basically, getting all physical. She's looking for Jesse, obviously.
Right.
But does she hit
Betsy.
Betsy?
Yeah, she like pushes her head into the table.
Right.
And basically busts up her nose.
Busts up her nose. And as that's happening, Jesse basically comes around the corner of the living room into the
Like,
kitchen.
hey y'all, what y'all
And
doing?
he looks like he just took a nice shower,
Just,
drying his hair.
Smells good, looks good.
Right.
That was Dominic Cooper, for the record. I recognize that too. So.
You're good.
Wow.
See people. This is why she's got the job.
Exactly. So then we go to Cassidy, who's in a jail cell, and he's
Right.
having a bit of a heart-to-heart with our Native American mascot friend.
Yes. Our first hard hint that something more has been going on with these two
Yeah.
mascots.
So they're basically, we get dropped in the middle of the conversation, and they're talking about pretty eyes and big fluffy asses. And then we find out that the Native American's actually referring to Pedro the prairie dog, who apparently has charges against him.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
from the first episode when they got into a little bit of a fight.
Some domestic squabble, I'm sure. Something probably happened at the costume shop, I'm thinking.
That was because of the change in mascot.
No, absolutely. But as he's walking out, because Cassidy's heard more of the story than we have, he says to him, he goes, you got to leave all this Brokeback Mountain
Gotta leave it all
stuff.
on Brokeback Mountain.
Leave it all on Brokeback Mountain. So which explains why later on they do what they do.
They do what they do.
They do what they do together.
All right, so then Sheriff Root comes over,
Mm-hmm.
gets the Native American mascot out of the
Yeah,
cell,
right.
lets him out. And he's basically just asking Cassidy about his son. Like what did the preacher do with him? He says.
Right. Where is it?
And Cassidy won't share it, but Root brought some tomato soup to make everything better.
Yeah, tomato soup. I don't know. I put it in the notes because at first I'm like, that's not tomato soup.
No, it's not. So basically, the point of this is that Root's gonna torture Cassidy.
Yeah, he's figured it out.
Yeah, because he's basically figured out through the internet and through word of mouth
And through common folklore of
that Cassidy is
the
a
20th
vampire.
century. Yeah.
And he's gonna shoot him as many times as possible and keep feeding him blood
Right.
so that he doesn't die.
Never-ending cycle.
Probably one of my favorite scenes from the episode was when he's reading off all of Cassidy's petty crimes throughout
Right.
the years, and he goes all the way back to like 1927 or something like that.
Yeah, back to 1922, I think.
22.
And but he's got all this shit, and once again, it's one of these signs where you get to see conveniently no one else gets to know about it, but the audience does of Cassidy's darkness in the sense of where oh, he's done some fucked up shit. You know what I mean? He's not no angel
Well, and
either.
it escalated in a cool way. I mean, it kind of went from assault and battery, drunk and disorderly, and then bam, attempted murder with the crime scene photos. So you're like, oh yeah, Cassidy. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's what these things do. They escalate.
Right, but notice they went in the reverse order. Like the worst ones were first, trying to get better.
Okay,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
good call.
Good point.
I like this scene for the fact that it seemed to be almost like a prelude to something that happens later on in the book
Mm-hmm.
and Masada.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought maybe we were going to see a more drawn out activity than we did.
Hmm.
With him being shot, I thought it was going to go on a little longer. Maybe that would be some kind of replacement for something that would normally happen later on in the show, in the book.
Right. No, that's good
But-
call on that too. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that.
At the very least, it's a nice prelude.
Yeah, right. And it kind of
Yeah, it set the
establishes
stage for that. Yeah.
at the very least.
If they, we don't know.
There you go.
But
And I also really liked his explanation for why the assault and battery in Vegas. I told him right from the get-go, I don't like magicians. That's legit. That's completely legit.
For some people, it's clowns. For him, it's magicians. I don't trust that fucking magic. If I can't figure it out, then it's no good.
just blows his mind and he freaks out.
No, it was Chris Angel, right? Oh, no, wait, that was 1961.
No wonder I haven't heard about that guy in years.
There you go. Finally, someone did the right thing and took care of Chris Angel. So
all right. So from there, we go back to Donnie's place.
Right.
And it turns out that Donnie's basically found some kind of redemption in himself from the altercation with Jesse in the gas station bathroom. And he's kind of become merciful towards Jesse and basically saves him from Quincannon and Sheriff Root.
Yeah, he's got this. I mean, I guess it was kind of coming, but he's had to turn around. He's just
but it's kind of hinted at that Jesse did something that Jesse used the power on him, which got me confused because I'm thinking, hey, he's deaf.
Oh no! Back in the earlier episode when they're both in the men's room, and Donnie's gonna shoot him, and Jesse uses the word, and he takes the gun from him and makes Donnie put it in his own mouth.
Right.
Do you remember?
I remember that.
Okay, so that's the scene that Donnie's recalling.
I understand that, but his personality has changed so much. I mean, he's gone from being somebody who wanted to hurt the preacher,
right,
in his house, and then Tulip takes him outside, and it's like, so what'd you do to Donnie? Even though she doesn't know about the power really yet, she's like, you did something to him. Something's wrong with him. So there's an implication that he's used the power, but
I really didn't know quite like that, but I kind of took it as because I thought about the church scene when Donnie comes and actually finally confronts the preacher in the church during the siege, and he doesn't kill him. He actually just knocks him out. I was thinking that Donnie probably at that point had already kind of like decided that I'm not going to hurt this guy. Like I'm not going to do.
That's okay, but to me that seems like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Just because so far it involves something that happened so far ago and versus now. But
right.
I didn't read it as him using his power, but I agree it was a fast character turnaround.
That's for sure.
And I mean, they only had 10 episodes. You can't spend a lot of time with all the characters, but building that up a little bit more would have been less of a surprise in this scene. But all I know is I got Donnie saying, "What?" That's all I needed.
I agree with that.
As long as I get that once a week. Where we go next?
So with that, Bob kind of hinted at it already, but from the previous scene that I mentioned, Tulip and Jesse step outside.
Right.
And it seems like there's about to be a little bit of an intimate moment between the two of them, but it's just good old Tulip being a tease.
Being a little flirty.
Yeah, and
right before being evil.
Right, and she pops open the trunk, and there's
kill him, Jesse, kill him.
A tied up Carlos,
Kinda.
and she says that basically, kill him.
Right.
So then, I guess, right from the trunk opening and seeing Carlos, we get that flashback scene from
we roll right into
an earlier episode where there's a bank job being done, with Jesse, Tulip, and Carlos, and
Jesse's hair,
and
Jesse's beautiful mane. It's literally a mane.
That's a fourth person. I would agree with that.
I'm sure craft services had to add extra that day.
So basically, Tulip and Jesse are basically just flirting and goofing around as they rip open safety deposit boxes, and I don't even know how to say this.
Why don't you just read what I wrote then, if you don't know how to say it?
All right. Well, the double-fisted dildo seems to be the big score.
Yeah. I mean, basically, that's how I took it. They were, only excited about that.
Literally double-fisted.
Listen, what are you going to do? Kids these days.
I guess so.
I got to be honest. I created a whole backstory in my head. Who's the person who put that in a bank? How do you get it into the bank? Where do you get to the stage in your life where you're like, I need to protect this?
Sarah, if we go on if we go on Tumblr right now, that thing's got its own account, and it's
probably got its own Twitter account.
It's got 3,000 followers at least. But
maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out later that the sex detectives had that box.
Maybe
that would be so great.
That, or could it even still be Hair Stars? Because that dude.
That's true. That's true too. Right? This is a little aside thing,
Yeah. I was waiting. All we needed was a close up and find out a Grail Industries logo on that. I think.
Preacher writers were available for script consultation.
Yeah. Hey, if you're listening.
Hey, I mean, Sarah's kind of official.
Sarah's much more pro.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's got the English language down. I'm still working on it.
So we get a brief scene with Carlos outside, trying to pick up a girl.
Yeah, he's trying to pick up the mail lady.
Bill actually.
Well, at first I thought that maybe it implied that because he dropped her name that he had worked there and he was part of the setup. But then you counterpointed that to, well, if he's just bullshitting with her, then we just didn't see him get her name. Like, he's already got her name. He's been flirting with her to keep her away from the door. He takes the mail, throws her right out. So
yeah.
So
that's how I took it. But I think it can go either way. You don't really know.
Yeah, they don't.
That's how I took it.
Fair enough. And then
so when he heads back inside, you get to see that there's a bunch of hostages actually tied up inside the bank, as well as some security guards.
Can I just jump in right here and just say this is the most leisurely bank job I've ever seen. Sloppy as hell and just taking their time.
Broad daylight, no masks, no rush.
No gloves.
That's cocky.
Yeah, the happy-go-lucky attitude too, man.
Just fucking around, just like, we'll get around to it. I understand that a double-fisted dildo will stop the proceedings, no matter where you find it. It's just that kind of an item, but
or start the proceedings.
Ooh, hey.
But I just noticed that their hands were just touching everything. No care about fingerprints, and just how what's his name was Carlos was even walking around. Just no rush. Obviously maybe not trying to draw attention either, but it just seemed like very leisurely. Like, no big whoop. We don't have to worry about someone just walking in.
I agree.
He just saw them goofing around with that giant double-headed dildo, and then didn't say nothing.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck are you doing? Come on, get the shit. Let's go.
Yeah, he was only mildly annoyed by that. I would have been a little bit more like, yo, what the fuck? I thought you guys would be done by now.
That basically is what happens. I mean, he walks in and
something else.
Right.
He walks.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I didn't want to cut you off. No, but he basically walks back in, and he gets jealous because apparently he's lonely.
Yeah, he's they're giggling and having a good time, and he's just in a little jealous fit. Fucking frees the one guard. He lets him go. And that's all it takes.
Yep. Yeah. So then that basically brings us back to the original flashback that we had briefly gotten in a previous episode. But now that we learn that Tulip actually miscarries a baby,
right?
Throughout all of this.
Yeah, in that moment that she gets a spike of pain, and that's where that goes next. That's the implication there. And I even
the Hollywood miscarriage. I'm not a medical professional. I don't know if yelling a little bit causes a miscarriage.
I'm sure you would chalk it up to the whole. They would say, oh, it's the whole extreme pressure and all that. But like you said, it's a Hollywood procedure that's being
trope.
Yeah, trope for sure. Yeah, and little easy out in a way, but how much time are they dedicating to the flashback?
Right.
Yeah, and I gotta wonder, this Tulip really care that she lost the baby?
I think that's what we're supposed to get from it, is that she lost the baby, and so this rageful kind of on edge Tulip that we get to see in the show stems from that. And that this closure she's supposed to get through Carlos, or by the end of this episode, is supposed to, in another magically Hollywood way, kind of put that all behind her.
Yeah, it seems to me the 1-2 punch of losing the baby and then losing Jesse is what drove her all season. That was her character motivation, was anger and revenge. And now that she's got it, I'm really curious what season 2 Tulip looks like. Now that she's tied that bow and hopefully is going to move on. So, but that's maybe for later in the podcast.
Fair enough.
Maybe we will still end up getting the Tulip that we know.
Right.
Hopefully.
I think so.
All right, so from there we go to Quincannon Meat and Power, where we go to the methane pit, basically, and
delicious.
Harold, I'm
just giving him that name. That's not officially his name.
I was gonna say, they drop his name, dude.
I don't even know.
I didn't even know.
I didn't even check it.
It's like Harold.
But that's what I figured.
Would you name him, Bill?
Harold.
Harold, okay, that's a good name.
That works for that guy, right?
So he calls up his wife, and he's trying to talk a little dirty, my man. He's trying to get some tonight.
Right.
And,
he's trying to close
he
that
basically
deal.
gets shot down immediately.
Pretty hard, yeah.
Seems like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And he took it so well. Okay, yeah, let's go see it. Okay, babe, we'll go see a movie.
Whatever you want to do, it's all right. Yeah. The voice goes up a pitch.
Tie you up, put an apple in your mouth, and smack you around. But I'll go to a movie with you.
Right, exactly. I won't get exactly, but I'll get what I'll go see freaking The Notebook again. Sure.
Playing in limited theaters.
Well, out in Texas, some of these theaters, they'll play a movie for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I assume it's nothing but Varsity Blues in Texas.
Still.
And reruns of Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
All right, so then we go to Cassidy back in his little cell there at the county jail.
Yeah, chilling. Just chilling.
He's at this point he's taking a bunch of bullets from Root.
Yeah.
But he really doesn't seem that bothered by it, in terms of character, and he really is relentless in telling Root where his son actually is.
Yeah, he's really not helping him.
So I don't really remember exactly what the exchange was, but they have a bit of an exchange, and Cassidy basically says, are you really looking for him?
Right.
Will you really mind if you don't find him and if he never comes back?
That puckered mouth all the time or something like that.
And this obviously makes Root quite annoyed because
just a little.
I think it's the truth, and
yeah.
I think if you were paying attention throughout the whole season, you would know that.
Yeah, that's.
And
I don't know if they put a hard enough button on it for people that felt right, but I mean there is some of it as you go later in the season that there's some kind of serious tension that stems from all that. But I don't know if they put a hard enough button on it for general audiences.
Yeah, Root's character confused me. Either he had that moment in an earlier episode with, you should have finished the job. And I thought, okay, we're going to get comic book Root here.
Right.
And then they took a really hard left turn and made him good guy Root, good guy dad, right?
Yeah.
Which confused me a little bit, but I like how he ended up. Well, not how he ended up. That's terrible.
What were you saying, Bob?
I lost my train of thought.
I do that all the time. Dom, tell me what I'm thinking next.
All right. So then basically from that, Root unloads his gun into Cassidy and then lets him out.
Yeah, which I thought was a little odd. Like he just kind of decides, like, I'm not going to get information from you, I guess.
Here's how I read this, and I thought about this quite a bit. Cassidy's trying to explain to Root that Jesse made a mistake. Nobody's perfect. Jesse made a mistake and sent Eugene to hell. Right. And so Cassidy starts pushing and pushing and pushing Root. You're glad your son's gone. You're glad he's not there with his questions. Root freaks out and unloads on Cassidy. And Cassidy tries to make the point, you're a good man and you made this, I pushed you. This is a mistake, just like Jesse made a mistake.
Right.
That's how I read it. And so that's why Root was like, you know what? You're right. I see. But it doesn't quite track for me because Root doesn't know how it happened. He doesn't know how Jesse came to send Eugene to hell. But that's how I read that. That was the only sense I could make of it, for what it's worth.
Because he does say to him at the end, he goes, I knew you would do that. I knew that you would go that far. And you just proved me right. And so I guess that shook him to some level, as I was supposed to take it, to, like you said, to just let him out.
Yeah.
What about...
All right, so then we go back to Jesse and Tulip.
I remember that.
And they're
buddy Carl.
Carl.
They're
basically just still debating the topic of whether or not to kill Carlos.
Right.
Well, in the next room, Donnie is reading Gorillas in the Mist.
Yes.
Great. That's Donnie. Just constantly amazing us.
Chorus of surprises.
You think he's not, like, sophisticated, but he is.
So they're inside at this point, and they're sitting around the table, and Jesse says to Tulip, that baby ain't ever going to come back.
Right. They have a heated exchange, but that's the big takeaway from that fight, is that at the root of all this is the loss of that baby. Right.
So they basically have they exchange a few more words, and Tulip she won't give up on this. So I think Jesse's just come to the point where he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go through with this because this woman is literally killing me.
Well, at the very least, like, maybe he's feeling like, fuck it, she's right, like, but he goes looking for the shopping bag, goes looking for some oven mitts, and then and a couple of like just mitt holders, I think, too. But he takes it all outside, and he's gonna off them. He's gonna put the bag in the trunk, and then I think Tulip.
Last second, Tulip changes her mind, which I thought was absolutely absurd. I'd like to get your opinions on that.
I mean, I think that's what we kind of it felt cliche where it's the oh no don't, and they both say no don't, and then they flip, and then they flip back, like, you know what I mean, and then eventually it's a thing that happens sometimes in movies and TV, and then it's like just so we can have the exchange and have the debate, and then in the end we agree that the right thing to do is what's actually the right thing to do in a sense, which is in this case don't kill him, just maul him basically and leave him be. But I don't know. The fact that she came out and she had changed her mind didn't really bother me too much. It felt a little rushed, if anything. But
yeah, I think looking back on it and hearing what Sarah just said, maybe this is the point where we're supposed to see what the real Tulip is about.
Yeah, the change starts kind of a thing.
Yeah, this is where we're going to start seeing the real Tulip, that she's actually kind of a nice person, and this is the hate. This hate that's been driving her, she can't sustain it in this moment.
Right, it's washing away finally.
Sarah's idea is the correct one.
In my role as the #1 Tulip defender that I've been this season, I feel like
fair enough.
I think she wanted Jesse to choose her. He's not been choosing her. He chose his congregation, his church, his faith, his God, and now he chose her. Right. And maybe that's what she wanted more than she wanted revenge or Carlos. Carlos' betrayal, causing her to miscarry, cost her Jesse and her baby. Now she's got Jesse back, so maybe she doesn't need to kill Carlos.
Fair enough. See,
I don't know. He chose her, and she grew up in the system. She didn't have good, solid family. Jesse was her family.
Right.
I think the apology, the pancake voicemail last week, and then this.
Yes.
She's good. She's got Jesse back.
Right. Just needs a bag of M&Ms and it'll all be good.
Isn't that a universal truth?
I thought so. Peanuts over plain, please. But where we go? So they basically
So she basically flakes, and
yeah,
they decide to beat him up instead.
Right. Just take him to the business.
So then I think Sarah, I think it was in your article that I read this. Were you the one that made the parallel to The Walking Dead of the scene?
It had to be intentional, didn't it? The groaning, the shuffling. I mean, it sounds like the zombies on Walking Dead.
I felt the same way.
To me, it felt like another AMC homage.
It's just in-house. It's just branding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In his defense, though, Carlos' defense, he did look like he was the Walking Dead.
He did look like a fresh one. He did look like a fresh zombie out of the oven.
And we saw Larry the mascot look over his shoulder like, what is... Oh.
Yeah, and then I actually think he starts running. He starts running away.
Like as soon as he gets a little bit out of frame, he starts taking off. Like, I'm not getting blamed for this one.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch it. It's making me laugh just seeing it in my head.
So then the next scene we get is basically Donnie's wife, Betsy. That's her name, right? Betsy, okay.
I had to look it up.
I keep forgetting.
Name drop
sorry,
her,
Betsy.
I think, on the show enough. Is it just me? I guess maybe it's just me.
I had to look it up, too.
Thank you. That's an official backup, by the way, from somebody who's got a better gig than I do.
So she does a very smart thing.
Yeah.
And goes to the church. And she tells the 2 police officers that are patrolling the front of the church to go to her house because that's where Jesse is and that's where they can find him.
Right, and there was this amazing delivery.
She has to say, I'm not going to
get that goddamn preacher.
Go get that goddamn some bitch.
Some bitch preacher.
Some bitch preacher.
It's like when a Southern person has to pretend to be a more Southern person. It's kind of like what happened right there. I have to be more Southerner.
Yeah, she sold it though.
She damn well did. I wasn't convinced. As soon as I saw her do it, I was like, something's up. This is a dodge right here. This is something going on.
So turns out that Jesse and Tulip are in the trunk of the car.
Just chilling.
There's a solid amount of room back there.
Hide in the trunk and chill. I think that's the thing kids are doing nowadays, right?
I guess so.
Big old car.
You know better than me. You would know better than me.
I would know better than you. I'm hip on the kids shit. Yeah, I probably am.
Kidding. So basically, they all, in a very nice way, start cleaning up the church and making it all pretty for mass the next day. I think, right?
Yeah, to some blood, sweat, and tears.
That morning, maybe.
To a blood, sweat, and tears track that, like, I don't think I ever heard. But as soon as I heard that voice, I was like, oh my god, there's a track from back in the day. This whole episode had great music. They must have just saved.
Music was on point.
They must have saved the budget for the soundtrack to this episode and like, all right, let's sprinkle old dusty cowboy tunes nobody knows throughout the other episodes, and then we'll save the budget for 10 tracks people really know. But speaking of tracks too, that we'll get to it. Go on.
So while we're inside the church, Jesse whips out the heaven phone.
Right.
And he's trying to figure it out. But our good friend Betsy, she's apparently an expert on this.
Yeah, she just was all like,
and she basically gives Jesse the run through. She gives him the tutorial on how to use the phone.
Right. It was a class. It was a quick class. I think he paid $75 for that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was.
I think it was supposed to be a joke though, because then she's like, "Yeah, that's the video phone."
And that's the way I took it too. I was like, "That's not really a video phone. Is there going to be a video phone in this thing?" And sure enough, by the end, there was a video phone.
I thought she was fucking with him the whole time. I was like, "Yeah, and that's the video phone."
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even take it like that, but that would have made more sense to me because the fact that she goes through the whole thing and just like spots everything, knows what it is, and then she's like, "Yeah," like, and as if it was so obvious, then why didn't he know? Like, he's not a moron really either.
Was her job with Quincannon secretarial? Did it involve phone work? I mean, we saw her on the job, I thought. It would have been great if we'd seen her at like an old school operator, like connecting,
One ringy dingy.
Exactly.
That would go a long way to explaining how she knows how to work the heaven box.
Right. Everything that's retro styled is like within her wheelhouse. Oh, I know how this works. Heaven 305, one ringy dingy. God 305. All right.
Well, maybe just with all the old technology at Quincannon, she knows what she's talking about.
There you
Possibly.
go. Everything's retro there. All right, so where we go? So she gives him the rundown on the phone, and
so then we get a quick shot of the church sign, and it says, "Today, meet God. Tomorrow, TBD."
To be decided. We'll figure out tomorrow. One day at a time, folks. Let's see how it goes.
Was it to be decided or to be dead?
Oh,
shit!
To be decimated. That too.
Only a writer would know that's what that hidden message in there. Like that's very interesting. So basically we get a quick scene with Jesse and Tulip in the church, and Tulip says, whatever happens
at church stays at church.
Whatever happens, no, I want fries. We're gonna go get French fries.
Yeah, whatever happens here today.
So I think that was like her way of asking him to go on a date, maybe.
Is that how they do it in that town?
I don't know.
Will you have French fries with me?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of how I took it.
I think, if anything, I wanted to take it as like maybe the diner, that particular diner even. I'm going to make the excuse now for why they weren't in the town at the very end and they got lucky. That diner, maybe it's a thing in their relationship. They used to go there and the fries is some kind of inside joke. But I just took it as maybe plainly that just that like she was like, listen, when we're done here, let's get something to fucking eat because I'm starving.
Well, yeah, that's possible also, but I mean, for the excuse of the diner, I think you could just say that there's no diner inside of Annville.
But there is though, because he spent a whole episode inside.
Oh,
of it.
right. Oh, that wasn't the same diner.
No.
Oh no, it was not.
Easier than that, though, guys. I think it's even easier than that because Jesse in the church looks at, he says, "Let's get out of here." He's got to leave town. Ruth's still in the church.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why that's why he's like, let's go get those French fries.
Plus, everybody in town was at the church, and I don't think anybody's going to their shift at the diner after that, are they? So maybe the diner was closed.
Fair enough.
Possibly.
We have just written like 8 different fanfics about this here. So
people, we're gonna give people work assignments for the season break. So we wanted to see these when you're done, folks. We turn them
writing prompts right here.
Writing prompts. There you go. It was a dark and stormy show.
All right, so hold on, I gotta find.
He's gonna open up the pamphlet, the pamphlet of notes that I prepared for him.
All right, so Tulip goes out and she runs into
Cassidy.
She runs into Cassidy
because they were in the backstage, I guess, at church.
And it's standing room only out there, so
yeah, and it's It's packed. It is super packed.
Right. So then Cassidy basically jokingly says, cops loaded him full of bullets.
Yeah,
is what he says.
Scoffs it off.
Yeah. So everybody is there. Everybody. Even Tracy Loach.
Sleeping with her eyes open.
So we're basically getting. I turned to Bill because we watched it together last night, or on Sunday night, I should say. And I was like, wow, they're literally just giving you a quick one shot of every character we've ever met in the town.
Right. If you spent more than a minute with them, like you got to see them a little bit. You saw the guy.
And if you didn't know at this point that everyone was going to die, I feel like you knew. You had to know.
You've never watched TV before.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. You were living under a rock, basically. But
forget about it if you never read the comic or not.
Yeah, and I feel like that was the thing, too, that they might have went out of their way to do. in a way, too, a little bit. I mean, obviously it serves the story to have everybody be there, but a little bit of a misdirect for the readers where it's like, oh, shit, like, it's going to happen, like, at any second, like, you know? But it was like, well, not a few more seconds, but we'll get to it, you know? Right. So everybody's there, from mascots in the costumes to Tracy Loach sprung up on a Craftmatic adjustable.
Mm-hmm. So Jesse goes to start his sermon, and Quincannon interrupts quickly with his nonsense. Yeah. And there was a very funny moment where he's basically just like, you know, denounce God, and the only real God is the God of meat.
The God of meat. M-E-A-T. He's like the cheerleader for that shit.
And everyone around him is just like, wait, what? What the fuck?
And he's
they give him a Tracy Loach look.
Yep.
They do. Frozen eyes wide open. And that's when he basically just gets the gist of, oh, all right, maybe I should sit back down. All right. But it is funny when his head just pops up into frame. Yeah. Like, we all chuckled hard because he's like, all right, this is what I'm going to tell you what it's going to be. And it's like, oh, shit. We thought Jesse had this.
It's the whole full screen of his head.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. He's taking up the whole frame, totally blocking Jesse the whole bit. Where we go.
So then Jesse basically tries the heaven phone, and after a couple of failed attempts, he finally gets it to work. So
it sounds like a dial-up modem.
Sounds like AOL.
Bill refers to it as God Skype in the notes.
Yep, opens up the God Skype on some dial-up AOL. Earthlink, I think I might have put in there.
Earthlink, yes. And so we get some blowing wind, some light flashes. And God appears.
Yeah.
On the
just like how you envisioned.
What was that?
Just like how he's been envisioned the whole episode.
Right.
Big puffy beard, crazy hair, white dude.
Nice chair, glowing, loud.
Big hands.
I basically Einstein with a 5-day growth.
Yeah, not bad. Cool there. That's like homeless Einstein is actually how he was looking a little bit.
What it was.
Can go with it.
Yeah.
All right. So he basically does he say at first, you know, why? Like, is he angry at first? I don't remember.
Well, he's God, so he's always annoyed. So he's got to do the whole "Why have you summoned me here?" Right, and it's like the great and powerful laws. Please relax. We just want to ask some questions. We're like, why is life sucked?
Right. So then
like,
basically, Jesse,
you have to know how to use pain.
Yeah. Jesse makes a plea for him to answer some questions. And he does after, you know, kind of getting annoyed.
Yeah, he has that back and forth where he doesn't really answer anything quite right away.
Yeah, he basically, everyone starts asking at once in the whole church. You know, there's 500, you know, people in the church, say, and they're all asking God questions at once, and they're all funny, of course. You know, like from dinosaurs.
To the dinosaurs.
Yeah, from dinosaurs to fucking, you know, Quincannon's little child.
Yeah, he makes.
Put my back on.
Right? Can you put my dick back on? And even God starts laughing at him for that. Right. Like, oh, that's funny. You know?
Right. So then Jesse asks about Eugene, and I guess from the way that God answers him,
or kind of doesn't, because he kind of
Jesse
like, yeah, he's fine.
Kind of gets the hint that he's not God.
Yeah, because God says that you're all saved, and he's like, Eugene too.
Even him.
Even that guy.
Yeah, why not?
I think I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Well, and prior to that, did you guys get a sense that this wasn't... I mean, did you know where this was going as you were watching?
I didn't at first, but it was like... It didn't take long for me to catch on.
Yeah, it took me about like 2 seconds because I was like... He didn't even get to the questioning yet, but I was just... Something about it was like, nah, this is going to be a misdirect. It was too much.
I'm sorry. I kind of felt that something was off from the beginning. I wasn't really surprised when it was revealed he wasn't God.
Right.
I really didn't know he wasn't.
Yeah.
I love that it was plausibly God for just a little bit, and then it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
They walked us to that really well, I thought.
Yeah.
He was a homeless guy.
Right.
Now, do you guys think that because his appearance is, you know, somewhat similar to the way his appearance is in the comic, do you think that was kind of just like a little bit of a way to ease the viewers into actually seeing God on screen? You know, I mean, we don't really get to see God too often in fiction on TV shows. I mean, right? I mean,
I think
not God like that. You get allegorical God, or you get
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Right.
Yeah.
Right, you get Morgan Freeman, you get some play on the well, you get some play on the classic idea. Whereas with this, it's like, it feels like the angels in their rush were like, okay, who looks most like? Okay, it's a bunch of white people calling. Who looks like God? Yeah, this guy looks like what they think is God. Give him in a seat. And it was like Larry. It's Steve. It's just Paul. It's just
they know the stereotype that the people in town have, and they just with it to appease them as easy as possible.
Right. And
Kevin, put this on. Sit down.
Right. Just go with it. And I like how at one point, like when he doesn't know what to say, he just goes with the I am the Alpha and the Omega. Like it's a very I am the great and powerful Oz. I told you this already. Like stop asking me questions.
Oh yeah, I think Jesse at that point asked him straight up, "Are you?"
Yeah, and he's like,
Alpha and Omega. He doesn't want to say yes.
Yeah, he basically says, "You're not God. I just saw you pick your nose." He's like, "I was scratching it."
And that's when it's definitely a sham.
Yeah. So then from that, basically, Jesse uses his word, and he says, "Where is God?"
Oh, I like that. That was good.
That was a recording.
We lifted that straight from the show.
No special effects, people.
No special effects. We don't got the budget.
We didn't use Kevin for this one.
Not for this one.
But so God, quote unquote, says, I don't know. He's missing.
Yeah.
He starts fumbling, basically.
Right.
And he says he's gone. And that's basically the last words we get from him. Excuse me, as the people at the nursing home are taking him out. As he's caused the fuss.
Right.
As the orderlies are taking him back to his...
right, at the psych center. Nurse Ratchet's calling him. He looks like
Wasn't that what it looked like, though? It looked like the orderlies were coming and taking him away.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, come on.
He made me.
Right. So,
I mean, I don't know how you guys really felt about that, the way they kind of dodge... telling the viewers the real deal.
Well, I was thinking about it too. Like in the book, at this point in the book, they still didn't see God. Like if we're catching up to where the book starts, they didn't see God at this point. And what they get is an angel who's trying to put on this false front. He's filling up the sky. His wings are out, and he's like, I am the Holy Spirit or some shit. And he's like, cut the bullshit. He uses the word on him. And immediately now that guy's angel is standing next to him. And he was like, okay, here's the deal. Blah, 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 blah. But it's a similar exchange.
I have no recollection of that.
It's a similar exchange like that where he tells him, cut the bullshit. And the angel was like, all right. He stops all the pomp and circumstance, and he's like, hey, here's what I really look like, basically. But he tries he tries to do this thing where he's filling up the sky, and he's like this, and his wings are spread out, and he's got his hands folded. So I felt like in spirit and in tone, it was a very similar kind of exchange and setup where they tried to do a misdirect on him, and he called him on it, used the word to do it, and in the end, gets the scoop and the info he needs to send him on the path, Jesse, to send him on the path.
And the show made it sound like the angel god, the faux god, didn't know about Genesis.
Right.
I mean, he really seemed... How did you... I don't know what that is.
What? Yeah.
And that's a nice reminder that in the comic, that was kept from the rank and file angels. And so in the show, I think Blankenfjord said nobody knew about it. But it was a nice reminder. The angels in power don't know what this power is either.
Right. Well, I feel like I said before, this guy's not even in power. This guy's just the one that they were like, you're fit to look, Larry. We're putting you in the throne. You haven't acted since you were alive. Guess what? It's your day to shine. You get to play the big boy. And he's like, my best job, my best gig ever.
Yeah. All right. So after everyone kind of figures out that this god was an imposter, everyone starts kind of flipping out a little bit. Odin gets up out of his seat and starts screaming to Jesse to denounce him.
What was that, Bob?
They just heard God left the building, so they freaked out.
Yeah, I can't blame them. It starts the process of them all losing their shit. But on Jesse's way out, Dom
Quincannon is basically yelling to him, saying, denounce him, like he has throughout the entire season.
Right.
And then I think we get a quick scene through like a little hole in the wall of everyone destroying the church, basically, and Odin comes up to the camera, basically, and takes off the big crucifix that's on the altar and snaps it.
And Emily's just rocking out on the organ.
I blame Emily. I blame Emily. Emily started with that fucking keyboard, and all of a sudden everybody loses their shit. It's the devil's music. That's what did it.
kid. Was that In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida or something like that?
No, but it was a 60s.
It was 96 tears.
96 tears, right. But they segued that nice, too, because they went right into the song from just some... Because I don't think that slow beat is on the actual intro of it. I think they matched that up. You know, her slow. I thought she was going to start doing hockey. We were going to be at the hockey rink, and it was going to be like that, you know, all this kind of stuff.
I like to think that every church organist secretly wants to play that song, and she's like, "This is my chance."
But technically, you know, she might have kicked off this whole "fuck the rules" thing because she was the first one. Like, you know, she was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to play rock music on the church keyboard," and then before you know it, everyone was like, "Yeah," and they started knocking pews over and ripping shit off the walls, and I don't know about that, but
Emily's a bad influence, man.
She is.
She's trouble.
Speaking of, she has a little bit. We next go to her having a bit of a conversation with her children.
Right. Yeah.
Where she says, you know, nothing's changed, guys.
Same old.
You know, we're still gonna wake up. We're still gonna go to school. Still gonna brush our teeth.
Right. That's right. The world is normal. Nothing's changed.
You know, she says that we never really needed God, anyways.
That's true. She does say that. And besides, we never really needed him. We were on our own, anyways. Basically, her point.
Right. So then,
but then we go right into the montage. We go right into this.
As Bill has it in the notes, it says, then we get the most melancholy cover of Blind Melon's "No Rain."
Right. As if that wasn't a melancholy song anyway.
Right. So then we get the Savage's mascot, and he hangs himself.
Yep.
On the
quail. How did I put it? The Grail Pail.
The Grail Pail.
Because it's if you check it out, it's actually a Grail Industries. It's got because it's upside down. You can't read it.
That's awesome.
Tony, who was our guest for the live episode, actually hung around. Him and Dom hung around, and he pointed out right in the commercial break. He was like, "You saw that, right?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And he's like, "Oh, it was a Grail Industries thing." And I was like, "Shit, really?" There you go.
I do recall.
I missed it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's like it's upside down. It's right at the very edge. Like I thought it was just discoloration or something, but it's in there and it's kind of like tarnished. But this kid, maybe because he had glasses on, got better vision, I guess.
So then we get a great scene where 2 or 3 little girls go on a school bus and they kill the creepy bus driver guy.
Yeah,
I don't know his name.
Kill. I'm pretty sure that was a castrate situation.
Yeah. That was a cat. I was that was a bit of an understatement.
I got a feeling it's killed by castration.
Castration. I'm not saying the one didn't lead to the other. I'm just saying it was.
Right. Let's not get all legal about it.
There's death and then there's death.
Right. But either way, in more ways than one, he got what he fucking deserved. That guy.
Right. So then Tracy Loach's mom suffocates her as her son takes a selfie. Root just stares at his TV.
Right.
Donnie won't bang his wife, despite her looking like Dorothy.
Right.
And then we get a meat baby via Quincannon.
Right. The classic meat baby. Do
we
want to discuss
which Sarah, I know you said in your article that you think that this is the closest we're going to get to the real Quincannon meat relationship.
Yes.
At this point, it does seem that way because he's apparently dead. But I do have hope, or it might be false hope, that he'll survive.
That somehow.
And that somehow, some way.
Later on
in the show, we will get it.
Yeah, I don't want to burst your bubble, Don, but on Talking Preacher after the show, Beth did say that, this was basically the way we could get that kind of demented meat relationship on film.
Yeah, that's what they decided to go with, yeah.
I did picture the AMC brass saying, "You want to do what now?"
Yeah.
With the what? You got to soften that.
I got a feeling they bind their own hands sometimes on this show in an attempt to recontextualize things that they think are too ridiculous or something. I feel like someone might have said, obviously at some point, like to have him hump meat, basically, because Jesse told him to find God. Like, it doesn't line up. Like, this is the best you can line it up with what they've established. Like, I think that's the problem. They painted themselves into like a little spot where it's like, all right, well, how do we now make this thing work because we tweaked it over here, kind of a thing. But there was no hard commitment to, I don't think, to really go balls to the wall with the meat stuff. You know what I mean? I wish there was, because...
Yeah, but Dom, for your sake, I hope we get the creepy, enormous meat sex puppet. That would be real exciting in like a season 6.
I agree. I think at this point, the only thing we really have to hold on to is that, they've changed this much already. Who's not to say that season 6 Odin's brother, who pops up at the end of the book, isn't a good guy. He's actually a bad guy also, and he ends up being another antagonist for Jesse, and he's the one that has the meat fetish. Who knows?
Hey,
his whole family's already dead.
Yeah, it's fair enough. But I tell you one thing.
We can make him a distant nephew, twice removed. There's room. We can make room for the meat sex puppet.
It's that kind of book. It's that kind of show. But the thing, too, is that someone pointed out to me, not pointed out to me, but I saw them point out on Twitter, it's like, yeah, as much as it's like it holds to the book, because it's TV, if you don't see a body, don't count anybody out just yet. And I think that's a fair thing to keep in mind.
That's how I feel.
It's cheating, in a way, or it's dirty playing, maybe a little bit, but shows do it, Yeah. Story writers do it.
So then...
We see the end. I'm sorry, go ahead. We got to get to the end of the episode anyway. Oh, wait.
Cool.
All right. So then we see our old friend, I think Harold, as we were referring to him.
Yes, sure.
From the methane electro power plant. He's basically dead, I think, lying in the bed.
Pretty dead.
And he's got a ball gagged hooker, and she's trying to save the system overload that is about to occur.
Yeah.
And
just flipping any old switch, which I don't think is a thing like that.
She actually might have killed everyone.
She might have been the
Bless
problem.
her heart. She was doing her best. She's not trained for that shit.
Exactly. I'm not saying there wasn't a valiant effort made. But
maybe what kind of training did the girls get? I don't know. Maybe they do have some. She was trying.
Maybe he told her too. Maybe he was like, "Look, if I have a heart attack or if I fall asleep and you're here and that thing starts buzzing, it's not gonna wake me up. So just that, And she's like, she probably wasn't paying attention. I mean, she's got a ball gag in her mouth. She was probably moving around stuff. Yeah, I don't want to make too much of a picture here.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that.
I forget sometimes.
There's
a lady around. I forget sometimes. I get totally unclassy.
So then...
Good thing I'm not there. I would slap your face.
See that? See? All right. Now I feel better.
Good. So then, long story short,
yeah,
Annville goes boom. Goes bye-bye.
That's it. We see some gas pipes.
Wiped off the face of the earth.
Blown to shit.
Blown away.
Literally blown to
And I noticed on a repeat watch that it is blown away by Larry the mascot flicked out a cigarette before he hung himself, and it's his cigarette that sets it off the record.
Fucking cigarette people, I
tell you.
Fucking smokers.
Animals.
Ugh. Couldn't just put it out. Right. Couldn't just put it out somewhere like a normal person, stomp it out with your boot, whatever, I mean, he was standing on a pail. I understand that putting it out afterwards probably would have been a problem, but...
Yeah, he just wanted to have his last drag of a cigarette and kill himself, let the guy live.
What did he care? He was already dead.
All right.
Little did he know he was taking everybody with him.
So then, we get a quick shot of Fior returning alone to his comic books. He lost the Blanc, but at least he gained his comic books back.
Yeah.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
That's the way to look at it.
Killed by the Saint Killers, you stay dead as an angel.
It seems to be...
That seems to be the thing.
That seems to be the loose rule. You know what I mean? I guess so. Those guns are blessed, even though we didn't necessarily see it happen.
No, we don't know him as... We still don't know he's the Saint Killers. We still don't know that his bullets are always straight and true. Mm-hmm. We don't know any of that.
Yeah, none of that's hard established on the show yet. You know what I mean? They just haven't said it. They just haven't shown us that part of his origin.
I hope that's all.
Well, I guess we'll find out come season 2. I mean, only in the sense of, I have a theory that if DeBlanc is alive or came back, maybe because he died in hell, he reinvigorates in heaven or on Earth. And Fior, we just didn't reunite with him yet. And as far as killing the angel at the very end, the camera cuts away before the time frame of her reinvigorating anyway. She could, in an instant, warp back in. We just didn't hang around long enough. It's possible, is what I'm saying. There's wiggle room. But I do agree that if he is empowered like he is in the book, that gun should basically blow them away. But he kills DeBlanc in the book when he gets woken up. And then DeBlanc comes back in the books, right?
Right, you're right. He does. I think he does.
Because I know that as far as blowing away DeBlanc when he wakes up, because last week I went to go check that to see how that went down. I reread it, and it's actually DeBlanc by name anyway. And he's sitting there, his back of his head's all blown out, and he's still talking. Great stuff for kids. So I know that, and I wasn't sure 100%, but they do come back, right, later on. So it's like, how does that?
You do see. I think later on, because we see them snorting cocaine later on in the book.
Right.
Yep.
Good times. Good times to come. That's a tease. Teasing people.
I don't feel like this version of either character
would do that
type of thing.
I didn't think either one of those characters in the book would end up where we do find them later on in the book. I feel like that was supposed to kind of be like a 180 reveal. Like, oh shit, there's those guys again. Oh shit, they fell off the fucking deep end. Like, I feel like that's kind of like the way you're supposed to kind of take that from the book, at least the way that I did.
Yeah,
by the time they came around, I couldn't remember them well enough to say anything other than like, oh, that's out of character. These guys have been exposed to America too long. They picked up some hobbies.
Right. So then we got our classic diner scene.
Yes.
From the comic.
Yes.
Finally,
yes.
We get a quick mention of the Big Lebowski again.
Why not?
And
wrap that up too.
Tulip basically says, what are we supposed to do? Just go around killing people and trying to find God on the road?
I really wanted her to say the line from Pulp Fiction and just be like, what are we going to do? Just wander the earth like Kane from Kung Fu? But she didn't say. I thought that was literally what was going to come out of her mouth, and I was like, oh, come on, guys. It's all these movie references.
Copyrights, guys.
Yeah, it's copyright.
And when she asked that, did you hear a cry rise up from all the book readers in the audience? Yes, that's exactly what you're going to do.
Yep. I heard all like a whoosh as a bunch of them looked at their watch like, how many minutes do we have left? Can we do any of that right now? Can we get to any of that?
So Jesse's response to that is, we're going to go find God, help him, or kick his ass.
Which is a slight change to the mantra, but it's fine. I mean,
it's a decent change, but it's actually kind of, it works out better for me, I think, because it's like Jesse doesn't really know, at this point in the show, doesn't know as much as he knows about the whole situation in the book when they decide to find God. Like, he knows that God has done wrong.
Yeah.
In the book. Right. At this point, he doesn't know. He's kind of still left in the dark.
Yeah, he's got there's a little bit of fuzziness still for...
So it makes sense that he would want to help him, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah, basically the show is on like page 3 of the first book at this point.
Right.
Right. Kind of. Well, because that's the thing about the book that, like, I feel like sometimes when the producers talk about, so much, the book moves at 900 miles an hour, this, that, the other thing, and I'm like, well, you know what the problem is for that and adapting it is that the book is like, it's a flashback cavalcade for the first, I don't know how long, for the first trade paperbacks worth, like 6 or 7 issues. It's like, it's flashback, then present day for like 3 panels, then into another flashback, and then like, it's almost like you lose track of when they actually leave the diner, because it's like, oh, did they ever leave? Like, I don't remember them actually leaving. I get that from a lot of people who read it. I think even for the first time you read it through, you were like, did they ever really walk out of the diner? Aren't they supposed to show up at the diner at the end? And I was like, no, it's not a
when I first started reading it, I kind of had like one of those, obviously it dawned on me quick that wasn't what was going to happen. But at first, I was hoping that it would be one of those things where, like, at the end of the book, it'd be like, so this is where we're at now, like, and like the whole story was told like from them, like in the diner.
Oh, that would have been great.
But obviously, I found that wasn't the case quickly.
Sure. But
a boy can dream.
A boy can dream.
That's all I got to say.
As you should. Dreams are good.
They are.
Dreams
depending.
It's like hopes. It keeps you going.
All right.
Yeah.
So Jesse goes to pay his bill.
Oh yeah, right.
For the French
a tiny
fries.
bit more, right?
And Eugene's at the register.
He's got a job.
Fake Eugene.
Oh. Fugene.
And in the background of the distance, there's a little TV that says the whole town has been decimated. Annville, Texas, has been blown off the map.
No big whoop. Yeah.
Then we step outside the diner.
Yeah.
And Tulip, says, so what's up with this power that you apparently have, Jesse? And he says, uses the word and says, kiss me to her.
Right.
And an unconsensual kiss occurs.
Mm-hmm. Questionable motives there.
And they hit the road.
Well, she punches him in the nose for the kiss.
But not before Tulip punches him in the nose.
Right, I'm sorry.
They're not going to fall down that Game of Thrones trap of, like, foggy consent, sexual assault.
Right.
They made
right.
Do not do that again.
Right. We established this right away. Get this out of the way.
Right. So they hit the road, and I basically thought that was where the episode was going to end. But someone else hits the road, and that's our cowboy.
Mm-hmm. Yeehaw.
And he basically, follows the Seraphim
right.
angel.
Yeah,
and
she walks out
he
first.
kills her in the rubble of Annville.
Yeah, he puts a
and
pretty big hole in her.
The season ends with him saying, "Preacher."
Preacher. He just says the name of the show. If this had been something else.
I think at this point is where I can jump in, go back.
Yeah, sure.
For a second. Earlier we were talking about Quincannon possibly coming back. I think his head is visible in that last scene as one of the bodies that are piled up.
I didn't check, but I saw somebody say.
I could be wrong. I only saw it one time, but I remember that.
I think I saw somebody say online that they saw her, Betsy's ruby slipper, right?
One of the commenters on my EW recap said that you can see Betsy's legs sticking up, and I went back and checked, and you can. She's got the one slipper on and one off, and the legs are kind of straight up in the air. It's funny, awful, and
now
funny.
Now I gotta go take a look at that.
You really do.
That's
well, I'm gonna have to check for Quincannon now.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Bob.
How was she even still in that outfit? Because she drove down to the church.
How does she have those shoes on, right?
Well, no. We see her the second time in the montage scene when her and Donnie are sitting on the bed.
Yeah, that's right. That came after the church, right?
Right. But I think that's why they made a big deal also of having that camera angle on her foot to establish that she's wearing this particular shoe. And
the attention to detail, tiny little details on this show was fantastic this season. And
it's definitely only so much of it is only noticeable on the rewatch. Like on a lot of shows, like when they do things that are callbacks and fan service, usually they're easy to peg out.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of things on this are layered in, where each department was doing it on their own, and not everybody always knew about it, so they couldn't call attention to every single little Easter egg,
Well, I was watching Talking Preacher, and Seth and Evan both said that the guys who make the show with them have been putting in more Easter eggs than they even know. So people can go back and they can watch the shows 2-3 times and still catch new ones.
Nice. That's the way it should be on something like this, though.
Yeah, it should. It should be absolutely. What everyone think?
Well, let's start with Sarah. She's the guest. Sarah, how do you feel about this overall as a wrap up for for all these episodes for this series?
I enjoyed the episode. That was just some upsetting stuff at the end. That stuck with me. The mood it evoked and that bleak, hopeless montage there at the end. That was some really affecting television.
Yeah.
As an entire season, we spent 10 episodes getting to know this town, and now it's gone, and we hit reset for season 2.
Right.
We, the book readers, kind of knew that was coming, so we were prepared for it. But I think a lot of people who weren't prepared for it are like, wait a second. Wait, what? They're all gone? What was the point of this season? Which a lot of us were thinking too. So on the one hand, it was kind of what was the point of this season if we're getting to the point where now the story starts? But on the other hand, I thought it was stylish, it was violent, it was funny, it was quirky. I enjoyed the trip, even if it was kind of a spinning our wheels before we could take off at the end of the finale of season 1. So that's my thought. Stylish, fun to watch. Some callbacks to the comics that I enjoyed. I really am looking forward to seeing season 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bob, you go. How what would you like to put a button on?
As an ender, it tied things up a lot better than I ever expected. Because of all the changes that we saw as readers, that we just couldn't figure how they were going to wrap it all up and put it all together,
right?
Make end the way we knew it should end. I agree with Sarah that a lot of the new people watching the show, their minds got blown at the end of the season.
Yes.
I did enjoy watching everybody freak out on Twitter, I gotta say.
I think it was a cleverly written show. I think overall it was a good season, but I don't think. Well, I'm just glad that now this is done and we can get on to the real stuff.
Right. Sure. How about you, D?
I can't say that I liked the season. Had its ups, had a lot of downs. like Sarah and Bob both said, and I'm sure you can agree with also, it's good now that we're actually getting to the real meat of the story that we love. Mm-hmm. I'm much more positive about the future of the show now than I ever was. That's for obvious reasons.
Right.
But I can't say that I really like this season overall, unfortunately. I wish I could. I'm on a companion podcast for the fucking show.
It's what this is supposed to be about, though. This is supposed to be about warts and all kind of a show.
But I got to be honest, and I wasn't that big of a fan of the show this season, but I really think that that's going to change going into next season, and I won't have any, preconceived notions negatively about the show next year.
No, I'm glad.
I think next season it'll be what I want it to be.
Well, that's what I'm happy that it had that turnaround for you, like as a well, not just as someone who's on the show, but as a friend. Like, I saw you get so frustrated because, like, and I was getting like that too. Like, you know what I mean? And Bob too. I know to a degree. You know what I mean? We all did. Where it was just like it's just not feeling like. I mean, it's some tone, there's some spirit of soul in there. But it's like when it started to feel for a little while like every time we were getting a piece of the book or a little bit of the book, we were getting it tweaked. So it was like, it's like, oh my God, it's like anything that they throw at us, it's like nothing is quite landing. But in the end, it gels enough in a way where like it works on its own. It works in a way where it lines up, all these storylines kind of merge in a way where things really do reset, like in a way, like they reset Tulip in a way. They've got Jesse now, like his goal and his motivations are clearer as a religious person than they ever were in the book. In the book, it's very much a moralistic kind of righteousness only kind of a thing that he operates on. So they've kind of brought that layer to him. I wonder how much of the religiousness of him will wash away. Like, like in the book, he doesn't ever like turn around and randomly spout passages from the Bible. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could see, but he does that in episode 1 and then later on here and there. So I wonder sometimes if he'll ever just randomly be like, but Cassidy, don't you know Parable 6:21-33 that says that thou shalt not be a douchebag? And whatever it may be. You know what I mean? That's a new one. I think that's in the updated version that I got. I don't know if anybody else got that. But anyway.
It's in the New American translation, not the King James.
Right, definitely not the King James. What did you say it was, Bob?
It's the New Testament.
Oh, okay. It's the Preacher versus Preacher Testament. So, I mean, overall, like, I was trying hard because I knew as an obsessive about television, I kind of saw in my head where they were going to go with it, which was exactly where it ended up. I knew that they were going to have, or I was confident that they were going to have these storylines that were going to deviate, but then find their way. And that was like a real thing, like I was trying to tell people in the beginning. But then I started to see that wash away, like, because I didn't anticipate the paths that they were going to go on. So all of a sudden I couldn't see how they wrapped back in. And then later on I started to see them dovetail, and I told a few people online, I'm like, don't worry, it's all gonna mesh up. It's all gonna meet up just enough. Don't worry. And in the end, we'll have a show that's very much more Preacher. And looking forward, I can't say how happy I am that that the creatives saw how much of a hesitation and resistance there might have been from fans of the book, where it's like they know that going into season 2. So whether or not that puts them on a tighter to the book kind of guideline than they ever were, considering on being for season 2, I'm hoping that it puts them on an even tighter one, where it's like, all right, so maybe the thing is that like we shouldn't tweak every single thing, like, It's
changes for change's sake that make me crazy. Yeah. Changes that they didn't have to be done. Why did you not just make Tulip's name Tulip? Why did you make her whatever her
Priscilla
real first
Jean.
name is? Yeah. It's just stuff like that makes me nuts.
Yeah.
There are legitimately some things coming up that you're probably going to have to change for TV for 2016 sensibilities rather than 1996 sensibilities.
Yep.
So that kind of stuff, there's going to have to be some changes, but don't just change it to change it. Have a reason for doing it.
Yeah.
So speaking of changes,
fair enough, sure,
that they've made, I want to give you guys credit. I think it was in last week's podcast. You were saying that maybe if Eugene's stuck in hell, that he turns up as Jesse Jesse's like imaginary voice of reason.
That was Bob's
and
call.
that is exactly what happened. So all credit to you guys.
All credit to Bob. Credit to where Bob is doing.
Thank you.
Way to go, Bob.
No, he should. We should.
I was going to mention that myself at some point, but yeah, not to. Obviously, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to sound like I was being egotistical.
No, that's the same thing with me too. It's like I don't want to say I told you so on a couple of things, but like I feel like I told you so on a couple of things. But yeah, Bob definitely called that, and I think he kind of called that too. Like when
I called it early.
Yeah, like that episode when we first see it with that, and you were like, "Oh man, I wonder if they're gonna make that like a regular thing." And not to say I shot it down completely, but I was like, that would be, I don't know how that would go, and I kind of foresee it now, like. It could be fun. It could be annoying. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think they're going to need to give us a little more of Eugene than they've been giving us to satisfy the people who want Eugene back.
Yeah, I think that's a thing you'll see, too, is that they've learned that he's a fan favorite. He's like the puppy on this show.
Mm.
Yeah, he really is.
He really is.
Did we ever get an answer for why Eugene's just still walking around when he actually literally attempted murder?
Well, that's the thing, too.
I mean, isn't that a lock-upable offense?
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, I'm holding to this theory, and I saw something on Talking Preacher that provides me some backup for that. But it's this theory that, like, in the town, that's how they know the events, that he tried to kill her. But that's not really what happened. Like, eventually, I thought this season we were going to get it, but Seth Rogen kind of implied that, there's a little more there. Like,
I think
know that
Bill's theory is actually the exact thing that happened. So yeah, I don't know if Sarah has heard.
Went down wrong. My theory is that he was trying to kill himself by himself, and shotgun went off, and she was in the stables. They were in the stables, and the horse freaking clomped on the top of her head, because I'm not sure exactly how you pull off shooting off the crown of somebody's skull. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
What was that, Bob?
After the bullet went through your chin.
Well, yeah. Well, even if you did it first, like, how do you? What was she laying down? And that's a weird angle. Like, you know what I mean? But I do see a horse rising up with the big hoof and bringing it down on top of her head because it got startled. You know, and then him getting the blame.
I welcome that alternate explanation. That would be good.
Yeah, and so Seth Rogen on Talking Preacher was kind of like, maybe, he did this very dance around. Like, he obviously wanted to say that you haven't seen the story yet. Mm-hmm. But that's basically what it is. Because I realized that we kind of hear that from Jesse. We don't get a breakdown from, like, anybody. And it seems to be just a scuttlebutt in the town. And like you said, if that's exactly what happened, how come he's not in jail? Yeah. So,
maybe Dad's the sheriff.
Well, that's what everybody probably thinks, too. It's like, oh, well, because he's the sheriff. And Judge might have been like, well, you got to deal with that face now, so we'll just kind of call it even or something.
Yeah. Be a version of small town justice.
Yeah, like it seems like God has punished you enough.
Yeah, sheriff's son,
Right. So that's kind of like the theory I'm running with, and hoping that we'll get, don't have to wait too long, because a lot of people were kind of annoyed by that. A lot of book readers, like, that's one of the bigger bones for a lot of people, is that, like, but they made Eugene, they made Arseface into this killer. Like, what kind of fucking shit is that? And that's not where he goes yet. Like, that, the rageful Arseface, it was still to come, and I was hoping that we were going to get to see some of that this week as the show wrapped up, but not yet. I was hoping that he was going to rise out of the ashes of the town, look around, and somehow know that Jesse was responsible, and that was going to send him on his quest of vengeance. Like, Jesse Custer, I'll get you. I will become Arseface.
You already pull him out of the rubble or something.
Yeah, like they find him, and then we wouldn't know exactly how he got out of hell, and they would play around with that, long con that reveal, because that's what they like to do here. They think it's lost light sometimes with the way they try to parse out these.
They really need to stop that. This is not that kind of story.
Yeah, just be straightforward with it. Yeah. Play with flashbacks. At
this point, all they got to do is, when they're writing dialogue, go, okay, what's the next line on page 27 of the book?
Yeah.
That's really all they need to do. And then say, okay, well, we got to tweak this a little bit. They don't need to do anything else at this point.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. I feel like there's a lot of things. The only thing that still goes on in the book is the flashing back and forth from a neutral position. Like there's one point where Jesse and Tulip are in the car by themselves. They've left Cassidy behind, and they're still telling their stories. And it's flashback back and forth. So there is a kind of like a work it out, make it work into this linear setup here kind of a thing. How do you manage that? It's budgetary. But I agree with you. As far as it goes page by page, that was supposedly the plan at one point from these guys, you know?
Yeah, this is supposed to be the point where it just follows the book, more or less.
Yeah, and that's what they keep on saying. They keep on saying that in interviews.
And they said they were going to follow the book closer in season 1 too.
Yeah, well, I think they
didn't have anything to do with it. So they already said that once, and basically.
Yeah, well, I understand that you don't believe that for a second, but I take it as they kind of had to because otherwise they would have scared off book readers from the jump. And I don't think that they pushed it as hard as we might recall that being pushed because I saw interviews and stuff with that, and they were dodgy about it. They were like, yeah, you know, instead of saying, yeah, man, it's exactly the same, blah, 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 they would say, yeah, well, you know, all the characters are there, and they're going to have all the spirit and tone of Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon's book. And instead of saying, yes, don't worry, it's panel for panel. Like, they were like, well, the spirit and the tone. And so, whereas season 1, they were a little cagey about it sometimes in interviews. Season 2, talking about that, this is a thing where it's like they're pushing harder that it's going to follow the book more. It's going to follow the book more. That's the Bible. But we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see.
So at this point of this show, as we're now an hour 22 into it, I think maybe now is a good time to decide who's going to win this big old book we've been trying to give away.
I think so.
How should we do this? I got 4 entries here, blind, crumpled into little balls. I don't know. How do we make Sarah a part of this because she's neutral?
Well, how about this? Line the balls up on the table, left to right.
Okay.
And number them 1 through 4, left to right, and tell her to pick one.
All right. Sarah, pick a number, 1 through 4.
3.
3 it is.
Apologies to 1, 2, and 4.
Apologies to 1, 2, and 4. Number 3 is Chad NV at Chad NV on Twitter. You're the big winner. You won the book. You won Absolute Preacher. This contest is sponsored by Comic Book Jones and comicbookjones.com. Comic Book Jones has a podcast of their own, WCBJ Radio. People should check that out. I'm on that. Not just because of me, but because these guys are cool as hell. But, Chad, the book is yours. So, congratulations.
Congrats, man.
And send us another email with your address. And we'll get that out to you as soon as was it humanly possible, or I wanted to make it mailingly possible, and that jammed me up. It's not a real word. I get ahead of myself sometimes. But
now you got to wrestle BJ, right?
Well, say that again. I got to wrestle somebody.
Now you have to wrestle that book out of the guys over at CBJ.
Yeah, now I have to get it away from them and make sure they didn't get any chicken grease or anything on it, or ice cream or something.
It might take a day or two, but Chad is definitely going to get it.
Yeah.
They may have let their Meat Baby read it, and then it gets kind of greasy.
See, that's what happens.
Meat Baby is not clean.
See, she knows.
Well, you got to remember not to cook the Meat Baby.
But that's the thing. You got to cook it. But don't you have to cook the Meat Baby because it's gonna start to get nasty? Like, at least if you cook it and firm it up.
Yeah, make it jerky.
That's the way to do it. That's Bob's right.
Jerky baby, yeah.
A jerky baby.
Yeah. And it's not, it's a petrified meat baby. There's nothing wrong with that, I think.
It lasts longer, it don't smell, and it's tasty.
I think Sarah's had enough of us. I just want to make that clear.
I said we didn't talk about the Meat Baby more. Poor Meat Baby.
That poor Meat Baby. Never going to get adopted, that kid.
By the way, I was prepared with the results of your Meat Baby poll
on Twitter. I knew I fucking forgot something. And it's funny, too. Earlier, right, when I was like, I got to make sure I got the poll this time, because Sarah had to pull my ass out of the fire with the poll. And so I have a tab open on my browser, but I didn't go to it. Sarah, were you following the results of our poll?
I voted in your poll, so I got Twitter notifications of the poll results.
Very cool, very cool. How did that poll go?
Well, you asked how would you rate the Preacher season finale on a scale of 1 to 4 meat babies, and then a conversation sprung up about which is better, 1 or 4 meat babies.
Right, because they were like, "Oh, what's better on this scale?" And
4, obviously.
4, of course. 4 meat babies are better than 1.
But the end results: 81 people voted, and 69% of them said 4 meat babies. 21% said 3. 5% said 2, and 5% said 1 lonely baby.
1 lonely meat baby. So, so it seems like people enjoyed it. People overall, one of our better turnouts for the polls, just because we post these things up on Twitter night of the thing. They just get all, no one sees it. It's just too busy.
It's just an unmitigated monster swamp.
See this guy. See, that's why I keep him around, folks. This is why I keep him around. The guy knows. I don't think I have anything else for us to get to besides, thank yous and all that kind of stuff and whatnots. But I will say that a big thank you to Comic Book Jones for sponsoring the contest. People are really great if you guys checked out their website and even follow them on Twitter at Comic Book Jones.
It's the comic book store above a lot of the comic book stores out there.
Yeah, just it's just nothing like them. Nothing like them.
It's an individual store with a good personality, all its own.
No, that's exactly it. You don't get many comic shops with a lounge in it, and you don't. You can just read. You don't even have to buy. You can hang out and read, which is unheard of at any place. Usually, you get this is not a library. Get out. As I close up the show
for the year.
For the year. No, for temporarily hiatus kind of a thing. People keep an eye on the channel. We'll get to it. We'll have more stuff. Congratulations to Chad and V for winning the book. We want to say thank you to Sarah for being here twice.
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah.
It was fun both times.
I hope so. And Sarah's recaps can be found on entertainmentweekly.com. Sarah, what else? What are you recapping these days? Now that Preacher's wrapping up for you.
I will have a little bit of time off, and then during the fall season, I do NCIS.
Very nice.
Which is a real departure from Preacher.
A little bit, just a little bit.
And then in probably 2017, I will be doing the Shannara Chronicles on MTV.
Very nice.
Which is a little closer to Preacher in as much as it's based on a book that it does not follow at all.
Challenges.
So, and then sometimes I get to fill in on other shows as their full-time recappers can't do it. But that's what I have been doing full-time, and it's a good gig.
Very
a lot
nice.
of fun.
Very nice.
Sounds like fun.
All right, so with that, I guess it's going to be a wrap for now. We'll miss you people. We'll miss you guys.
Thanks for sticking with us if you stuck with us from the jump.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's been fun. It will only get funner, if that's a word.
I think so. It is now.
I'll allow it.
And just thanks. Appreciate it.
I guess we'll give out... So now, Bob's got it. We'll give out the old where can you reach us. If anybody wants to reach Sarah, Sarah is on Twitter at Sara Netzly, SaraNetzly.
Got it.
Oh my God! Oof! See, now I earned my keep, right? Nice. All right, so very good. Thank you, Sarah, so much. And then people can follow Dominic on Twitter as well at Dom_Torre. Torre. They can follow Bob on Twitter at BobWTPC. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, hopefully those that are legal, we're going to call this a wrap for now. Anybody wants to check out this podcast or other podcasts, it's at wickedtheory.com. They can check it all out there. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. And then I guess this is the point where I say, until the end of the world.
Now the lesson is over, and the killing's begun. There was a time of the preacher in the year of '01, when you think it's all over, it It's only begun.